So let's talk about the game. So
Okay.
overall, I want to hear your thoughts because I have some stuff I want to talk about, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
So I think we need to break it up into categories. So
Okay.
let's start with visual.
Okay.
What did you think of the cinematics of the game? Not just the cutscenes, but the actual cinematics of the gameplay. I thought the cutscenes were very good.
Yep. I
I
agree.
felt like I was watching a movie, and the CGI at some points were extremely kind of blurred my reality a little bit. And I was like,
Yeah.
man, these are some really good cutscenes. As far as the visual look of the game itself, I thought it was standard. I thought it was fair. I thought it was in line with what you would expect from, a Call of Duty engine in a Star Wars video game.
Yep.
Um,
I perfectly agree. Yep. I'm with you.
but in terms of the visual of your character, the visual of using the weapons, I thought it was fine. But it wasn't like knock my socks off. It was the cinematic cutscenes to me that were really impressive.
Yeah, and I thought that the cutscenes compared to the actual gameplay wasn't too far off. Where I was like, oh, like one of those games where you have like really good cutscenes, and then like the gameplay's like so, in terms of visuals.
No, the landscapes were nice. It was
Yeah,
it was
it
good.
looked really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I will say, whoever did or not whoever, but the Luke Skywalker, it just didn't look good to me in the campaign. It didn't look good, but I don't know. That's just me.
His face looked a little bit off, and his voice.
Yeah.
Was that whose voice was it? That wasn't Hamill, was it?
No, that wasn't
I didn't
Hamill,
think
but
so.
it was kind of hard for him to do a young Luke voice of this. It'll just sound like an older.
Yeah,
You'll be able to
yeah.
notice a difference. So I understand why they did that, but
So I think we're in
Yeah.
agreement on the visual.
yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah. I'm
so
with
let's talk about the campaign gameplay, and then we'll get
Okay.
into the actual story and plot.
Okay.
So what did you think of the gameplay? For me, my favorite parts of the gameplay were probably anytime I was in an aircraft.
you. Okay.
I enjoyed that a little bit more than some of the others because essentially you're just running around gunning people down, and you could take as slow or as long as you needed to, but it's kind of set on rails, just like a Call of Duty, and it's kind of guide you in a certain direction that you need to go and
Yeah.
to do certain things. But whenever I was in the aircrafts, I mean, to me that was challenging. I felt some challenges. I think I may have set my difficulty level too high, but I put it up there just to really kind of get my challenge worth. And I felt like whenever I was in the aircrafts, such as the TIE fighters or the X-Wings, I kind of got that. And I really actually enjoyed the space battle stuff. Even though, there were certain set things you needed to do, there were things that you could blow up on the ships that may have been irrelevant to the plot, but hey, it still showed damage. It still was impacted. When you invert and you have to right yourself, I felt like the ship mechanics were pretty good.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Yeah.
As far as the gameplay for each of the characters and the main character, I think it was fair. I mean, there was never any point where I was like, "Oh, this is super exciting," other than when I was in the space battles.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Like, I really thought that the droid, your personal droid, I thought they were going to do some better stuff with that.
Yeah.
And it just kind of was like, hey, you can do like one thing with him and then like
Slice it.
slice things. Yeah, you can slice thing and then
Shock.
shock people. Yeah. So I was like, man, I wish they would have gotten a little bit more creative, but
Yeah, it would have been nice for you to be able to switch to that character at any point to do maybe some surveillance or something like
yeah,
that.
kind of like Ghost Recon where you have like a drone above and you can spot out
Yeah,
I
something
don't-
like
did,
that.
Did you ever, certain points in the campaign, they want you to be sneaky.
No, I was not.
Do you think that that's can you actually be sneaky throughout? Because I found it very difficult.
I found it to be impossible because once one of the guys drops, then they kind of everybody, hones in on that and comes
Right.
after you. You could probably get through killing one or two people,
Yeah.
but there is a whole platoon every time, and you've got to kill them all. There's no way to be sneaky about that.
Yeah, and that's one of the problems for me And maybe that's just because my expectations were a little higher, but I read the book and these guys are special ops. Like, you should be able to sneak around and do some cool stealth stuff. I'm not saying the whole thing has to be a stealth, the whole game has to be stealth, but
It doesn't have to be Metal Gear Solid or Splinter Cell.
right, but I would love some options, like have the options to do it, because like any stormtrooper can do what they did in these video games. It seemed like, at least, but these guys are top notch. They're special ops. They should be able to do better than the average stormtrooper. Does that make sense?
No, I think that's a very fair statement. One thing I didn't like is that you can't go prone.
Yeah, I wasn't too worried about that, but if they were to involve more stealth, maybe I could see where that would be a thing.
Yeah, that was one of the first things I tried to do when it first talked about being stealthy. I tried to go to ground, and nope, wasn't happening.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say that kind of let me down a little bit. And then as far as whenever there was gameplay for the Iden Versio character,
yeah,
I felt like that character's gameplay was far better than most of the others.
Yeah. Now you're saying the others, like Leia, Lando,
yes,
that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I felt like some of those were extremely forced.
Right. So,
no
yeah,
pun intended.
If you don't, yeah, good one.
Thank you.
I want to count, side note, I want to count how many times in a Star Wars podcast somebody has used that pun.
Intentionally or unintentionally?
Both.
Yeah.
I can't remember what I was going to say.
But
so
I just feel like,
going.
I feel like the Leia character, the Mark the Luke Skywalker, the Kylo Ren was weird.
Yeah, let's explain a little bit for maybe people who haven't played the game. There's certain points in the campaign where you kind of cross paths with Han, Lando, Leia, Luke, and Kylo. I think, is that it?
I believe that's all of them.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
So you'll like go on a mission with Leia, and then instead of being Iden, you'll switch to Leia, or you'll be Leia. You don't get a switch. You are Leia. You don't get a switch throughout the level, but you're Leia or you're Han or you're Lando or whatever. So that's what you're kind of talking about. Like, you like the mechanics of maybe Leia or Han better than Iden. Is that what you were saying?
No, the opposite.
Oh, so you liked Iden better. You like playing as Iden better than playing as the heroes.
Yeah, that just felt weird. I didn't mind playing as Han. I thought that was okay. But I felt like the Luke Skywalker piece was extremely unnecessary. He spent the whole time killing bugs. That was boring.
Yeah, if I'm going to be Luke Skywalker, the last thing I want to do with a lightsaber is like kill some stupid bugs that are not going to hurt me.
Yeah, so that didn't make sense. The Lando, I kind of got. I liked his little buddy. He was funny.
Yeah, I did like him. Yeah, he was good.
I don't know what his name was. Skiv, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
I was not fond of the Leia crossover piece. That felt extremely unnecessary as well. And then the Kylo, there's this sequence where he gets in the head of one of the characters, and you actually play through his mind, and it's this very dreamlike state, and it just felt weird. It felt unnecessary and weird.
Yeah, I will say this about the heroes and villains that you could play in the campaign. I think what they should have done is maybe have those levels available, but not in the campaign, just like in like an arcade mode, because I would have liked that, But it bugged me because it felt like EA came in. I don't know if this is what happened, but it felt like EA came in and was like, hey, you need to throw these characters into the campaign. And it felt like just a big teaser trailer for, hey, look what you can do in the multiplayer. Look, there's Leia. Look at her abilities you can use in the multiplayer. If you just click on the multiplayer, it just felt like that. And it really let me down. And I'm getting to the broader thing of the story, but the story let me down. I was not a fan. I'm not into this campaign. It really, really upset me.
Yeah, so okay, let's go ahead and go there. Let's talk about the story. I was initially a big fan of the story through maybe the first third of the campaign.
Yep, I'm with you too. The first, third or half was really good. On track.
Felt really good about that. Iden is a part of this Inferno squad, and she's got people with her. They're going through and seeing, essentially what the rebels have done wrong. And you could kind of see, the juxtaposition that exists when everything is spun in a certain way in terms of the rebels are the bad guys as opposed to the Empire is the bad guys.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. And then you have this quick switch.
Yes, the switch to the rebellion.
And
like,
to me, it
literally
way
2
too fast.
seconds.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I did not like that. And so all of a sudden, someone who was special forces in the Empire decides, yep, not anymore. I'm going to go special forces or be, just help the rebellion. It would have been one thing if they would have been more mercenary style. And they
Right.
were just out to do their own thing. Iden
like
wanted
to make money.
Yeah, Iden wanted to complete what she wanted to complete, and maybe she did cross paths with rebels and or Empire characters, and just didn't take sides. I think that would have made much more sense for a better story, but for her to switch the way she did as fast as she did, it just felt really cheesy because I didn't expect for it to happen the way it did, and you're given this idea that you're going to be playing from the perspective of a Empire character. But really, all you're doing is playing from the perspective of a conflicted character.
Yeah, I mean, we were sold on this game. You were going to play as the Empire. That was the selling point of the campaign. And it took not even half of the campaign before they switched to the Rebellion, which is like, we've played as the Rebellion. Every other game that we've played as Star Wars is played as the Rebellion. And it's fun. Like, here's the thing. Battlefront 2, the campaign is fun. It's a lot of fun. But just because something's fun doesn't make it good,
It doesn't make it good from a story perspective.
Exactly. Like, if you want to have fun and just play the game, go ahead and buy it. It's fun. But when it comes to the story, we've got to be honest. If we just say, hey, yeah, it's great because it's Star Wars, they're just gonna keep putting out crap. And I'm not saying this is a crap game. I'm not saying the campaign is absolutely garbage. I'm just saying I'm really disappointed. I mean, if you go back and read that book leading up to this movie, that's what I wanted to see in a game.
And what was the name of that book? Was that one Catalyst?
No, this was Inferno Squad, Battlefront 2 Inferno Squad.
Oh, so that's the name of the book is Inferno Squad.
Yeah, it's kind of the beginning of Inferno Squad, and you follow them on like 2 or 4 missions maybe that they do where they, I don't know, just really cool stuff that you would expect a special ops group to do, which I expected to do more of in this game, and we didn't get any of that. And it just, man, it really bummed me out,
No, I'm with you, because I loved the opportunity when I didn't have a weapon, and I pulled out my stick and beat somebody.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, she's tough.
Yeah.
She's intense, and she is a tough character. I like her character as a, to see her more, that'd be cool. I mean, she was a very in charge person, who had good moves, but
Yeah.
it really did rub me the wrong way how quickly she turned the other direction.
Yeah, as soon as that turn happened, I was like, oh, man.
Yeah.
No, really? That fast? Man. Like, if you read that book, that's not her character. That's not her character at all. If anything, I was expecting a turn to maybe the Partisans, which is what they call the Saw Gerrera's group of people. They're called the Partisans, and they're in the book, heavily in the book.
That would have made a lot more sense.
And that's what, half of the book is focused on their infiltrating the Partisans. Like, they're going undercover for months. They're going undercover acting like these people, and eventually they have to turn, and that's where, reading the book, I was like, okay, if she's going to turn at all, maybe she'll turn to the Partisans, because in the book she kind of was like, you know what, they're saying some good things, but they're not the rebellion. The rebellion's awful, that kind of stuff. So that's where I thought they were going, and it went to the rebellion, and I was like, what are they doing? Did they even read the book? I mean, that's obviously sarcasm because I'm sure they worked on the book, but yeah, so that just bugged me.
That you make an interesting point. If they really wanted to introduce all of the characters that they did, she could have been quote unquote undercover, and it still would have been okay and made more sense than what it did.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just think, to me, there was a better way to go about it, because I'm very much like you. I was excited to play as the Empire.
Right.
And that didn't last very long. So maybe we were in more agreement than you thought, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
I
Now,
mean, go ahead.
go ahead. Sorry.
No, the only other thing I was going to complain about was, they took the time or made this extra effort to put all of these little side campaigns in with Han and Leia and Lando and all of them. My man Chewie got 0 screen time,
Ah, man, you're right.
and
He
that
wasn't
cheesed
even
me off.
he wasn't even with Han at
No.
Maz's castle.
So I was super frustrated about that. I'm like, if you're going to take this time to, you know, go through all these little side quests, give me a little bit more Chewie.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That's my last beef.
Now we'll say this doesn't change my score, I doubt, but they are coming out with more levels for the campaign. It ended abruptly. I know that you sent me a text.
So that was
like,
weird too.
Yeah, the ending was like, oh, are they setting up for another game? Because that was kind of weird. It was kind of like the story ended, and then it felt like there was an epilogue.
Right, because you don't really know what happens to Iden at the end.
And another thing that annoyed me is, let's see if you can get this. The two main characters end up to be rebels. They basically get together on Jakku, right? And then in the epilogue, they mention a daughter. And it's like, okay, I get it. You're trying to make us think that it's Rey, but it's not Rey, guys. It's not. But people are going to write about their theories, and I like the theories, but it's wrong. And it just annoys me that they did that on purpose. You know they did that on purpose. You know, if you put two characters on Jakku making a baby, people are going to say, there's Rey's parents, and it's going to be annoying. And all you have to do is name the kid. You talk about the kid, just name it. But they want the clicks. They want the clicks because people will buy it. People say, hey, the headline will read, potential Rey's parents are potentially in Battlefront 2's story. And people will say, huh, I want to play that then.
Yeah, and can I also say that I hated the romance part.
Yeah, I mean,
there was no like romantic tension, and then all of a sudden they start making out with the backdrop of a battleship just in flames behind them. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, whenever
That's just ridiculous. Her dad's dead.
She gets out of the escape pod or wherever she's in, and he's like, it's over. It's all over. And I'm like, there's a ship dropping behind you. What do you mean it's over? It's not over yet. But yeah, the love story, it's whatever. I mean, they kind of hinted at it in the book. I'm not big into love stories. Like, it doesn't really matter to me. But maybe if it was a longer form campaign, it'd be more believable. But yeah, it was kind of abrupt.
Yeah, that was just weird.
So all right, story overall a campaign. What do you rate it out of 10? If 10 is perfect.
Ooh.
You cannot do. I don't know what a perfect game is to you, like an example of one campaign wise, but a perfect campaign.
The Last of Us.
Yeah, I haven't played all that, but I've heard it's amazing.
For me, The Last of Us was a perfect campaign. I thoroughly enjoyed that game. So
if that's a 10, what's Battlefront 2 campaign?
Ooh, 6.5, 7.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 6. Now, I will say, again, I'm going to repeat this because I know people get a little upset about this kind of stuff. It's a fun campaign. It's fun to play.
Here's the difference, though, okay? How many more times are you going to play this campaign?
Maybe one more time, if that. And that's just because
I would play the Last of Us campaign over and over again because you can do things differently. And the way you go about it, is done a little bit differently. Whereas this is very, very set in stone, very rigid. The way you play Last of Us, there's an intensity that exists in The Last of Us that grabs you and makes you want to play it again and again. And this, on the other hand, is like, okay, I've done that. I might play it one more time.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And so that brings it down for me. If there's a campaign that makes me want to play campaign over and over again, that's the mark of a wonderful game. Red Dead Redemption, I would play that over and over again.
Fantastic game, yeah.
Because you can take it in so many different ways because it's open world.
Right. And I will say, like, of course this game's small. We understand it's not this huge game like The Last of Us or Red Dead Redemption. But even then, if you make a good game, even if it's short, people are going to play it again and again.
Yeah, and we don't know what to expect going forward since they keep buying up other companies and, killing off projects and
Exactly.
things like that. So, I mean, I'm totally good with your rating. I'm still going to stick with my 6.5 or 7, just because I wanted a Star Wars campaign. I got one. It was fair. It was decent. At least it was visually appealing. So
Yeah. All right. I guess that's it for Battlefront 2. So, have we talked about everything?
I mean, there's the multiplayer, but you kind of covered that by saying multiplayer is what it is, and I think there's nothing more to be said about that. It's very much like you would expect.
Yeah, I will say if you're just going to play the campaign, I can definitely not recommend that you buy this for $60. It is not a $60 game. If you just are interested in the campaign and you're not into multiplayer, do not buy the game.
No, don't.
Watch it on YouTube. Watch the cutscenes on YouTube. It's not worth it.
I would agree 100%.
So save your money. But multiplayer is pretty good as far as I can tell. So far.
Multiplayer for me is better than the last one. So
I will say they did not keep my favorite game mode, which was cargo. I love the 6-on-6. I think it was 6-on-6 small objective based game. Man, I love that. I might even have to go back to Battlefront 1 because I miss it that much just to play that for a couple rounds. But
you're not a fan of the 40 versus 40 kind of thing?
No, not too many deaths, You walk 2 feet, you die,
spawning,
you walk 2 feet.
A lot of spawning, yeah.
Yeah, so. All right, let's move on. We've talked about that for a while.
Yeah, dead horse has been beaten.